Hey guys, so there appears to be some people that have the wrong view of me. People seem to think that I debate people, and generally, no, I won't. I won't debate people, and it's not because it's just, it's just not my bag. It's not what I do. I pay attention to what's going on in the news. I listen to a bunch of streamers and frickin' political analysts, and I come to my own conclusion. I generally don't want to talk to somebody who is, completely delusional. I will try to convince people here or there, occasionally. And sometimes maybe somebody can even change my mind now and again. But I'm not a professional debater. That is not what my bag is. I have no interest in it. A lot of people do not argue in good faith. The majority of people have no idea how to make a good salient point without using some kind of fallacy. For instance, today I had somebody literally argue that Trump is the bad guy because all 4 mafia bosses in Italy came together to condemn him for what's going on in the Somali community. And it's just you're arguing that literal criminal syndicates being on your side helps your point of view. Do I even have to explain how stupid of an idea that is? I mean, do I? Honestly? I mean, for the love of God. Oh, the criminal organizations wants more criminal illegal aliens to come into the country and commit more criminal fraud. Criminal. Oh my God, the criminals are on your side. You're clearly the hero. What do I even say to that? And I couldn't convince them that, no, the criminal gangs supporting the criminal aliens is not a good argument for your position. You're just gathering up all the criminals and unionizing them, ionizing them. Oh, okay, so I guess the mafia, the Democrats, and illegal aliens are all on the same side now. I mentioned to them, and they were like, yeah, but the neo-fascists support Trump. And then I send, that guy Spencer? I forget what his full name is. But he's the leader of a huge, neo-fascist organization inside the United States. And he outright came out and supported Biden on camera for the entire world to see. And it's yeah, there are creeps out there in the world that also choose what they think is the lesser of two evils. Despite the fact that the neo-fascists are the greatest evil, they would choose somebody that they think is the most neo-fascist. And a lot of them thought it was Biden because of all the people he was trying to lock up. And because the Democrats, despite what they like to tell you, are still very racist. They're racist against Asian people. They're racist against black people. They think black people are too stupid to get into college without significant boosts. It has nothing to do with poverty. They're just oh, you're black, therefore we'll give you a position in college that an Asian student with perfect straight A's will be booted out of. And it's just why? Like, if that Asian student has perfect straight A's, a 4.3 GPA, and gets accepted by no colleges throughout the entire country, which, by the way, there is an Asian guy out there right now suing, like, literally all the colleges, because out of high school he had a 4.33, and none of the colleges accepted him. None of them. Perfect, not even a perfect straight A student, a perfect straight A plus student, one of the smartest people in the entire country, and he got rejected from every college throughout the country. Why? Because of affirmative action. According to Democrats, Asians are overly represented in college because they're just too smart, you see. So we gotta make sure that less of them get into college, even if we have to force out the smartest students in order for some of the weaker students to get in. Which means you might have like a prestigious college, except a student that only got C's their entire like high school career. Now you might be like, well, that doesn't mean they're not smart. Maybe they're just not good at good at taking standardized tests or whatever. But that's the point. Because you have a lot of freedom in college. You have to get yourself to class on your own. You don't follow the same set schedule. You don't end up in one building and stay there for 7 hours just walking between class to class. You have to travel through the entire campus. You have to be an adult. You have to wake yourself up. You have to go where you need to be, when you need to be it. You have a lot of studying to do. You have a lot of just projects that you have to do. You have to time manage yourself. And if you couldn't time manage yourself in high school, where everything is managed for you, then maybe you shouldn't be allowed to go to one of these most prestigious colleges where you have to pay $40,000 per semester. I can't believe I have to say that, because it's so obvious. Because what's going to happen is a lot of these students, these weaker students, get accepted in these prestigious colleges, and they simply aren't on that level. Like, they were already struggling in school when they were being told where to go, when to go there, and basically if you tried to skip school, they might even put you in detention. You skip class in college, no one cares. That's your money. You're wasting your money. You skip school in high school, they'll punish you. There's no punishment by skipping school in college besides possibly wasting your own money. But when you reject a perfect straight A plus student because of his race, then I hate to break this to you, you're racist. Again, I don't know how else to explain that. And it's so many people, again, I have to point this out, 64% of Native Americans voted for Trump. 47% of Hispanics voted for Trump. The majority of Hispanic men voted for Trump. It was 52 or 53%. And then people get all shocked when ICE agents turn out to be black or Hispanic. Because, duh, a lot of Hispanics and black people are conservative. But if you dare vote conservative when you're a minority, that means you're an Uncle Tom. Despite the fact that Uncle Tom was actually a hero in that book, where he, I'm pretty sure, he helped free slaves. He helped free slaves in that book. Uncle Tom's Cabin, by the way. And they use that as a slur. Now, to be fair, we use Einstein as a slur to refer to somebody who's stupid. So using Uncle Tom to refer to somebody who is not heroic kind of makes sense. But no one even remembers that Uncle Tom was a hero in that book. Like, that's how much they dragged that name through the mud. Now, to be fair, it's a fictional character, but again, it's the ignorance of it that is so grating to me. And that's what I hate. Like, when I was little, I always believed in listening to other people's point of view, to explore the world, listen out, hear out, try to find different, like, beliefs, that kind of stuff. Keep your mind open, ask questions, always question everything. And I still do that to this day, which means that I respect having worldly knowledge, practical knowledge, having knowledge of history, science, math, religion, a little bit of everything, as much as you can. Learn everything you can. But when I hear ignorance, absolute, mind-numbing, horrific ignorance, it frustrates me on a fundamental level. For example, they say Trump flew on flights on Epstein's plane, which is true. He flew from Texas to Mar-a-Lago or something, or from Mar-a-Lago to New York or something like that, right? That's what he did. Now, to be fair, the golf course, Trump didn't actually own the golf course until way after, he broke off all contact with Epstein. So maybe Mar-a-Lago's not the best analogy here, but he just flew within the country on Epstein's plane, because all these billionaires, all these rich folk, they all like to use each other's planes, jets. Because they're like, oh, my jet is currently in New York while I'm in California because my son took the jet. Now I'll just ask one of the people who owns a jet around here if I can borrow theirs. Let's see here. I guess I'll use it. I'll ask Bill Gates if I can borrow his. I'll just make sure to pay him like 10 grand or whatever for the flight. Or something like that, right? Because they can easily throw around that money. They don't care whose plane they fly on. But the last time Trump flew on Epstein's jet was in 1997. I was 4. I was 4 years old. And then he breaks off contact with Epstein completely in 2004 and bans him from all of his properties because he brought like a very young girl to Epstein's property, and then he was hitting on Trump's properties, and then he was hitting on one of Trump's employees. So he banned him from all his properties across the country in 2004. And then he joined, when the FBI went around asking all the rich and powerful about Epstein, Trump immediately gave them every single solitary detail that he had on Epstein. Everything he could provide. Without hesitation. With glee, in fact. And Epstein was arrested and convicted in 2008. And now we learn that Whoopi Goldberg may have flown on Epstein's jet in 2013. I would like to remind everybody that on The View, Trump went on to the show before he ever ran for president. And if you watch that interview, between The View and Trump, they love him. They're like slobbering over him. They call him their very good friend. They absolutely adored this man. They thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. They absolutely just, they were like hitting on him. Live, on air. They completely just loved this dude. But then as soon as he ran as a Republican, they hated him. They suddenly decided that this guy was a PDF file. They suddenly decided this guy was a fascist. They suddenly decided that he was a moron. They suddenly decided he was a terrible businessman. Despite the fact that he took his father's fortune and, like, I would say sextupled, but it's more than that. It's way more than that. Trump is one of the best businessmen in the world. He is one of the best negotiators in the world. He has always been one of the best negotiators in the world. People have always loved him. They always wanted to be in his orbit constantly until he ran as a Republican. And people will put out these fake quotes or these like misquotes where they take something completely out of context. And then they're like, but Trump didn't release the Epstein files quick enough. When did Obama release Epstein files? When did Biden release Epstein files? Oh, but Trump was required by law to release the files. Yeah, he signed the bill. He could have vetoed it. If he was actually trying to hide something, he would have vetoed it. And then he allowed documents that linked him to Epstein to be released in the Epstein files. And in a lot of the Epstein files, it says, okay, here's what somebody claimed, here's the witness, and then it says, this is what they said, this is what's being, these are the allegations, and then it says whether or not the FBI thinks it's credible. And frickin' the one on Trump says, we don't find this witness to be credible. And it's an anonymous witness. You know, like all the other anonymous witnesses. People who still believe that E. Jean Carroll. Do you realize, like, no one ever talks about that anymore? You want to know why no one ever talks about it? Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. In one of the most busy, crowd-packed malls in the entire country, Macy's is huge in New York. There are a lot of people in there all the time. So this random woman in some unknown year, at some unknown time, at some unknown date, apparently went into one of the busiest malls in the country and happened to run into one of the most famous people in the world. And she was the only one to notice one of the richest men in the world, Trump, one of the most outgoing, outspoken, loud, boisterous men in the world, who draws crowds no matter where he is for the last 50 years, goes into the busiest mall in the entire country, and only one woman notices him. And then they go into the changing room, and he violates her, again, in one of the busiest malls in the entire country, right next to the cash registers, and nobody noticed. Nobody talked about it. Nobody said anything. No one decided, you know what? This is a good opportunity to get rich. Because now I can blackmail the richest man in the world. Nobody thought that. And then she didn't talk about it for like a decade. But she kept the dress and she never washed it. Both the defense and the prosecution both asked to bring that dress in to have it DNA tested. Because the prosecution was sure that it would have Trump's DNA on it. And the defense was sure that it wouldn't. And E.G. Carroll, the person who said that she never washed this dress, they refused. They refused to have it tested. Because maybe maybe it's because the DNA would be expired and you wouldn't be able to find any on there. One, that's not how DNA works. DNA can last for millions of years under the right circumstances. Well, not millions, more like tens of thousands, honestly. But you see the point, right? You see the point on how that doesn't click together? It doesn't make any sense. That's why people don't talk about E.G. Carroll anymore. Because they know she's either full of shit, or because they know that there's no way that nobody would have noticed that one of the richest men in the world went into one of the busiest malls in the world and only drew the attention of E.G. Carroll. It's too big of a secret. Like, we all knew Bill Gates was a creep because we could see the kind of crap he was doing. Like, Melinda Gates came out and said that her former husband, is a total creep and had ties with Epstein. And that she dumped him because he refused to cut off ties with Epstein. And it turned out, now, apparently, in emails sent from Epstein to Bill Gates, that Bill Gates got STDs from Russian girls, specifically girls. It didn't say women. We don't know if that means they were underage or not, but Epstein said girls specifically, and we knew what he was into. Those Russian girls gave Bill Gates an STD, and then Bill Gates asked Epstein for antibiotics because he accidentally gave an STD to his wife, and now he needed to slip her medicine in her food or her drink or something like that. Give her a round of antibiotics, drugging her against her will, against her knowledge, because he wanted to hide the fact that he cheated on her or that he might have been sleeping with underage girls. Now you can see why Bill Gates laughed when he's like, well, he's dead now. Yeah, because he had dirt on you. He had blackmail on you. Of course you were laughing. By the way, this is also why a lot of people think that Epstein didn't actually take himself out. Because he had blackmail on so many people, he had so many enemies, that it kind of makes sense that somebody would want him gone before he actually talked. Too late, by the way, all that was in the Epstein files. But what they didn't want is him to be on camera saying something, or be him on court record saying that he had ties with these people. Just, God, dude. And you argue these points with people. Like, I tried debate. I honestly tried debating these people. I'm like, here's the information we know. We know this for sure. This is non-negotiable. These are actual facts that we have on the case. Like, these are hard, fast facts. Like, no one disputes any of this to be true. And they just don't listen. And then they keep coming up with these points that you can be like, at some point, when you're defending the mafia, when you're saying the mafia being on your side puts you in the right, at that point, it's time for you to turn off your phone, get off the internet and go to a water park or something. Because clearly you have lost the plot at that point. Go take a break from the internet, come back, and maybe we can talk later. Because now I have a migraine, and I don't want to talk to you no more. It used to be fun talking to you. Now it's not. Because you are so Trump deranged that you are defending the mafia. Guess what? I don't care what criminals have to say. Which, by the way, some, old mafia bosses and, members have gone to jail, gone out, and now they come out and they support, Trump because they see what, the Somali immigrants are doing is the exact same tactics that the mafia used. And they're like, well, these guys are doing what we used to do, but they aren't as sophisticated. They aren't as kind and generous like we used to be. And it's like, at the same time, thanks for, kind of helping our point of view, but at the same time, you're still a former member of the mafia. They call it, the mafia, a, more high-class type of criminal. And it was why the Valentine's Day massacre was so, publicized. Because the mafia tended not to be that violent. They tended not to, just execute people. They would beat the hell out of people, yeah, sure. But generally, they didn't, just randomly just start killing people in public. In fact, if you tried anything in their neighborhood, hell, if you tried to shoot someone in public, they would throw you under the bus, almost immediately. Now, there were a few hit jobs here or there, but it was supposed to be shared, it was supposed to be, undercover, beneath public notice. But once people started doing drive-bys, they're like, yeah, you're a liability at this point. You brought way too much attention to us. And some people nowadays say that they prefer that over rampant, open-air gunfights where random civilians can be hurt. I think they're both bad, honestly. I can see where they're coming from, but just arrest criminals. Just arrest criminals. They're illegal. If there's illegal aliens in the country, arrest them, deport them. Easy, 1, 2. Biden started to deport illegals in his last year because he realized he was going to lose and he wanted to turn his reputation around. And all it proved is that he could have been doing that the entire time. That's all it proved. It proved that if somebody really wanted to come in and deport illegal immigrants, that they could do it way more efficiently. Because Biden wasn't trying to be efficient, he was just trying to meet a minimum standard. In fact, Trump deported less people in his last year than Biden did 2 years ago. The only reason why Trump was more successful is a lot of people self-deported. Because Trump made it very clear that if you don't self-deport, you're never allowed back into this country until the day you die. Barring some maybe outliers. But yeah. And Obama deported 2.7 million people. They don't care about that. Now suddenly Obama is against deportations. It's oh, but Obama was so much gentler. They never hurt a fly. They just took these people and took them out of the country and no one ever fought. There was never any deaths involved. Nothing bad ever happened under Obama, which is a total lie. They never reported anything bad that happened under Obama, ever. And under Obama, all the Democrats and all the Republicans worked with Obama to deport those people. Whereas under Trump, only the Republicans help Trump. All the Democrats fight tooth and nail, releasing illegal immigrants back onto the street. Illegally, mind you. One judge is currently sitting in prison because she released an illegal immigrant back onto the street out of her own court while the ICE was in there. They had to chase him halfway across the city when she could have just handed him over. She endangered lives for a virtue signal. Now she's going to rot in prison for like a decade. Good. I'm sick of these Democrats turning around, being complete and utter hypocrites, going against everything they believed not even a decade ago. Just to get Trump, man. We gotta get Trump. We'll get him next time. No, we'll get him next time. No, we'll get him the time after that. No, we'll make sure to get him 100 times after that. Again, I am not kidding when I think in 50 years, have you ever heard of, like, I think his name was like Pope Cornelius. He was accused of like some petty crime or something. The Pope that came after him dug up his corpse, put the corpse on trial, said that the corpse committed perjury, and then had it thrown into the river, destroying the corpse. I have no doubt whatsoever that in 50 years, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I do have doubts that they would be this dumb, but I have this distinct feeling that in 50 years, the Democrats are going to try to dig up Trump's corpse for some reason, for whatever reason, and put it on trial and throw it into the river. And they'll be like, oh, we need to, like, dig up his corpse and see if he had, like, an STD or something, so he can drag his name through the mud one more time, because he got accused of having sex with a woman 70 years before. So clearly, he would still have an STD. Like, I'm tired. I don't debate people. I don't debate people because people are stupid. They are dumb. And I'm sick of these Trump deranged lunatics changing their entire worldviews just because they don't like Trump. You could tell a leftist that Trump suggests that you invest in the Disney company. And then all those people who have rabidly been defending Disney Star Wars would suddenly turn against it overnight. And they would try to have Bob Iger thrown out of his position and, like, exiled from all public life for the rest of existence. If Trump came out and said, I like what Disney's doing right now, all this woke stuff is wonderful, leftists would destroy Disney in an afternoon to get Trump. Kind of wish he would do that, honestly. It'd be hilarious. Anyways, I'm leaving it there. Don't mistake me for somebody who wants to debate you. If your first inclination is to insult me in a message on Twitter, it's like you reply to something I said on Twitter and you just say, no, you're an idiot, and then you try to explain why I'm an idiot. I'm just going to block you because I'm not going to take an ad hominem attack right off the bat. I'm not going to just, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I want to talk to this person whose first instinct is to try to degrade me. I don't have to take that shit from any of you. From anyone. Anyways, my audience is pretty cool, so I don't have to worry about that, at least. The people who actually come here on a regular basis anyways. Anyways, I'm leaving it there. Bye, guys.